Okay, putting some shapes in here. I've only started, okay? Well, no, okay, I'm probably halfway through, but obviously this is going to need shaping, this is going to need shaping. I'm just slowly building up and very thoughtfully putting in some brush strokes to tell my future self where the cracks, the crevices, and what have you go. It's not just about the rock, it's about the direction of this rock. The sky lunges out a little bit, these lunge out from the corner. Where I want the attention is going to be almost pretty much directly below this bump of cloud here. So we're going to catch a little bit of sunlight on the rocks here. Here and here we're more likely to return to these colors in here. A little colder, a little grayer, a little lower temperature, a little lower value, because there is some shade coming from the right hand side and a little bit behind us. I may or may not put in some moss or lichen. I'm not going to do small strokes. It will be just a general color reference if I do that. I had thoughts of putting some foliage in, maybe the odd, a bit of a bush or something, but no. I want to keep this simple. It's already pretty much been decided for me what I've done so far. It's quite stylized and actually quite simple in general. So the last thing I want to do is down on the bottom of the painting add too much minor detail. So we're going to stick with the rock. The rocks under these trees, because here's our highest value chroma-ish, I wanted that to be adjacent to the coldest, lowest value colors, so that we maintain a bit of a silhouette right here, coming down and across the rocks. As we move to the right with these trees, we're going to start to raise our values and warm them up a little bit, because a bit of ambient light, or indirect sunlight at least, will be catching some of these trees here as well. You can't see much form in there right now. That's okay. That's I already know what I'm going to do there. So, so we start, what do I have here? I was using ultramarine blue and raw umber. And we moved over to ultramarine blue, raw umber, and a hint of burnt sienna. Then we moved down here and we started to get rid of that raw umber, sticking with the ultramarine blue, but instead of raw umber we traded it for a little bit of burnt sienna. Now obviously I'm using some titanium white in all of my strokes as well. And then we move over to here and we're shedding now our ultramarine blue, and we're keeping a bit of it in there, a bit of ultramarine blue in there, but only enough to tone down the burnt sienna, because burnt sienna and white of course is very strong. So, but we are still leaning towards the warmer colors, using burnt sienna in here, sort of central to the painting. Well, right now it's dead center. Not going to worry about that right now. As I always do, I can pull focal area this way or that way. That's up to me. That's towards the end of the painting. So I'll return to these umbers and raw umber and ultramarine blue and a bit of white in these colder areas. And I'll be also using burnt sienna and ultramarine blue, but mostly ultramarine blue as well in these cooler areas. We have a nice cradle. I like the way these rocks are lunging up, aiming indirectly, but sort of aiming to, a little bit parallel to as well, our greatest area of interest, which at the moment, as I said, is dead center. It's going to end up being a little bit to the right of dead center. So yeah, I'm playing. I'm going real easy because I'm treating myself to a holiday. So this is all the painting I do when I'm on holidays. It's not a lot, but it's more fun than feeling like you have to cover a certain amount of area, what have you. I think that's it for the moment. And as always, once these rocks are in place and I'm pretty happy with them, then I'm likely to go into these trees. And I'm going to need to work on the entire painting. Just a few strokes here and there. As always, I've never completed a painting distance to close to foreground, and each area was just perfect right from the get-go. I always wanted to revisit other areas in the painting, so that's my step 6, as I call it. Once everything's painted in, once your painting is painted, then look at the whole thing after taking a break and decide, is there something I can do for this painting? Is there something that I can give it a little more drama to, or a little bit of a sparkle, or a deeper shade, a colder color, a warmer color? That comes later. Right now we're just in painting. So we're going to keep working on the in painting, finish these designs. I'm loosening, I have some very tight lines in here and tight designs. As I come forward, they're blurring a little bit more. I'm becoming looser. I'm using a bigger brush because I don't need these really hard lines in the foreground. For the most part, we're going to get a little, I don't know if I want to say smudgier, but we're going to lower the values and cool off the temperature of the paint. And that's going to work just fine. Okay. See you soon. Whoops. See you soon. Not over there. Have a good day.